This, ladies and gentlemen, is what is known as a hiking boot. If you wear one of these, it makes you look like the sort of person who breathes oxygen through cylinders, fights angry bears, or scales large snowy mountains to pass time. Now, it's alright if you don't actually do any of those things, but wearing one makes you look like a man of adventure and extremes, a true lover of nature and somebody with a passion for the outdoors. In a way, it's exactly what this motorcycle does to you as well. And in fact, this one too. This one you recognize because it is, of course, the Kawasaki Versys 650, a motorcycle that the upper middle classes of Malaysia, Thailand and India really like. That's because this is a bike you can ride to work during the week and to the beach during weekends. Benelli, however, now wants to offer you a smaller sized hiking boot, which is, of course, the TRK 502. We haven't been offered this kind of boot or, well, motorcycle before, except, of course, the Versys X300. But that motorcycle, as all of you know, is an absurdly overpriced machine. And so, Benelli suggests that rather than buying a trusted Japanese motorcycle, you should buy one with a pedigreed Italian badge made in China, owned by a Chinese company. I'm not sure that sounds very convincing, but can it be that Benelli is really onto something this time around?
By the look of it, they must be onto something. You see, the TRK 502 is unlike anything Benelli has sold in India before. It's well made, has lots of features, and from a distance looks like it could wear any other more premium European badge instead. Take for instance the fact that Benelli has equipped it with this massive 50mm upside down fork, or that virtually everything on this motorcycle is made out of heavy metal. The windscreen bracket is metal, the various heat shields and mounts are metal, and in fact this entire fairing is mounted on a substantial metal frame. It's almost shocking when you find out that the Pirelli Angel ST tires are made out of rubber instead. But that of course means it's also very heavy. Benelli won't tell us, but it weighs approximately 235 kilos, which is more than twice the average weight of a newborn elephant.
And then you consider the fact that it has a 500cc parallel twin engine that produces 47 horsepower. Well, that's 22 HP less than what the Versys offers, and this is 19 kilos heavier. No, I'm still not convinced.
Well, apart from that, and being much lower in torque as well, the TRK does look far better in just about every aspect on paper. It's got the larger brakes, the longer wheelbase, lower seat height, higher ground clearance, and most importantly, the cheaper price tag as well.
At Rs 5 lakh ex-showroom, the Benelli TRK 502 is well over $1.5 lakh cheaper than the Kawasaki Versys 650. Fun fact, $1.5 lakh worth of petrol can get you to 42,857.14 kilometers. In other words, that's a lot of petrol.
But given that petrol may soon be a thing of the past, shouldn't you burn it wisely? On the sort of road you like to spend Sunday mornings on, the Versys is just so much fun. Its 649cc parallel twin motor may seem a bit boring, but as a motorcycle, it works beautifully. It's quick, it's refined, and while it doesn't intimidate, it can take you up to some serious speeds. The Ninja 650 derived engine feels just right even in this long-legged format, and barely a few minutes of riding it tells you exactly why it is so popular with the upper middle classes of the world. In comparison, the TRK feels slower and less energetic, both of which it is. It also has a very unimpressive bottom end, and you have to keep it in a lower gear at higher revs if you want it to really move. However, there is a lot you will like about it as well. To begin with, there is that howl it produces, which makes it sound like a 4-cylinder motorcycle, and then there's a 6-speed gearbox which is really smooth. Having ridden the TRK for nearly 900 kilometers in a day, I'm now qualified to tell you that it can do 100 kilometers per hour at 5000 RPM in 6th gear, as easily as it can do 140 at 7000 RPM. That's rather good, and then, just like the Versys, it doesn't heat up your legs even in traffic, which is a good thing for people who like legs.
But speed alone doesn't make a good long-distance motorcycle. What also matters equally is for you to be entertained and comfortable.
In that regard, it's largely the Versys that's better. Its trellis frame is suspended on a Showa separate function fork, which is preload and rebound adjustable, and a monoshock which is preload adjustable as well. It seats you taller, which will be challenging for anyone under 5'10", but once you climb aboard and get riding, you will fall in love with the way it handles. The Versys is a shining example of what great suspension can do to a motorcycle's appeal, and in the case of the Versys, it probably has made it more fun than even the Ninja 650. Also making life on the road calmer is a refined engine and the lack of intrusive vibrations, something the TRK can't claim to offer.
See this fat chunk of rubber here? Well, sure, it makes for a comfortable foot peg, but it's also here because Benelli doesn't want you to feel the vibrations that emerge here after 6,000 RPM.
The area around the seat gets mild vibrations too, and so does the handlebar, but it isn't noticeable to an extent that puts you off riding. But it's there. If you can look past that, then you will be happy to discover how brilliant the seat is for both rider and pillion, and that climbing on board and crawling through traffic is easier for shorter riders. The ride quality is also quite plush, although on bad roads, the Versys holds up that crucial bit better. Now, these aren't serious off-road bikes, but if you do fancy a bit of trail riding, it's the Versys you should pick, not only because it's more responsive or better sprung, but also because of one extremely important reason.
No matter how good you are off the road, a time will come when you will drop your adventure motorcycle, and then, you'll have to pick it up as well. I've picked the Versys up, but do you think it's a good idea to drop the TRK 502? Well, there's only one way to find out. Feroz, would you like to try? That's Feroz, our resident trained off-road expert, and he suggests that's the correct way to pick up a fallen motorcycle. But clearly it's not working. Rishad, would you like to try as well? As you can tell, dropping the TRK 502 is not a good idea at all. Thankfully, it does come with crash protection as standard, which means the bike wasn't harmed in any way during the shoot. The Kawasaki Versys is not only lighter, but also less top-heavy than the Benelli TRK 502. And lastly, despite the Benelli's larger discs, it just lacks the feel and progression of the Versys despite offering good bite. Thankfully, both of these motorcycles offer dual-channel ABS as standard, and the Benelli even lets you disengage it. But if I were you, I wouldn't try it.
So, is there any merit at all in buying a Benelli over a Kawasaki? Not exactly. The TRK 502 is a good-looking and well-equipped motorcycle, and it speaks volumes about how much Benelli has evolved as a manufacturer. But ultimately, it feels more like a travel appliance than a soulful motorcycle with character. That doesn't make it a bad motorcycle, but the Versys is simply better. Buying one may not leave you with any money to buy that pair of hiking boots, but that's probably a good thing, because who really ever wants to breathe oxygen from a cylinder or fight a bear?